Hello, it's Professor Marsh again, and this is the second part of lesson number 6, which is regarding dependence. And we stopped after the two skills warm-ups with respect to dependence, and now let's go on to our next lesson in the workout. So we're on page 8, and this is regarding Doris. The U.S. citizen is 8 years old. Had a small role in television series, so Doris is a child actress, and the question is she made $60,000 during the tax year, but her parents put all the money in a trust fund to pay for college. She lived with her parents all year. Does she meet the support test to be a dependent for her parents? And the answer is yes, because Doris's earnings as an actress didn't pay any of her support. And so Doris, even though she makes a lot of money, is still a dependent of her parents on her parents' tax return. Let's go on to the next one, which is Bob. He's 22 and a full-time student for the entire year. During the tax year, he lived with his parents when he was not in the dorm. During the tax year, he worked part-time, but that income did not pay over half of his total support. Does Bob pass the test for a qualifying child? Now note that he's over the age of 19, but he's a full-time student. And so the answer to that is going to be yes. And if you click on the yes box, you'll see that he meets all the qualifying child tests. He meets the relationship test, the age test, because he's under 24 but a full-time student for at least 5 months. The residency test, because his time at school was a temporary residence, it's temporary absence from his parents' home, and the support test, because he did not provide at least half his support. So that's a really good example for most of the questions, most of the tests that you're going to get with qualifying children. So Bob is a really good example. And I'm going to commend you to, let's see here, true or false, the gross income test considers taxable income only, whereas the support test considers all of the dependents' income, both taxable and non-taxable. And the answer to that is true. This is for the difference between the gross income test and the support test. So taxable income only for the gross income test. And think about it, gross income, we're really talking about a tax return item, gross income. We only talk about gross income when we're thinking about taxes. But the support test considers who actually pays for it, all the income, both taxable and non-taxable. So two different tests getting at two different things. That was question number 3 on page 10. Now the last one for the qualifying child tests. A taxpayer cannot claim a qualifying child dependent if that child provides more than how much of their support. And as we've said, for the support test, it's over 50%. So if the child provides over 50% of their own support, you can go ahead and click on C and see that that's correct. And you can see the other answers too. But that's the support test. Now, the qualifying child of another taxpayer, we get into that on page 12, and that goes through page 14 of this, and I'm going to ask you just to go through those and to go through the questions and see the correct and the incorrect answers. Those will probably come up again, and then I'm going to move ahead to page 15, and now we have the member of the household or relationship test, and you can see that slides or pages 15 through 19 in this workout deal with that test. And then we go on to beginning on page 20, we have the gross income test. And I'm just going to ask you to go through each page. And, if you see something that surprises you, take notes about it. That's probably what they'll test. But what you'll find is that this issue with respect to dependence is, tested just on its own once. But these questions come up in many of the questions that deal with credits, child tax credit, the earned income credit, and so you have to know who qualifies as a child or as a dependent for purposes of these other credits that we're going to get to toward the end of the course. So just go through these carefully, make your notes, and what you will find is that this will help you later on. And in fact, what you can do is to, if you want to, go to the form, the publication 6744, which has the tests themselves that you're planning to take, copy the test that you're planning to take, and as you go through and study each item, see if there's a question, and there's only 30 or 35 questions, so you can match up the questions with the particular lessons that you're learning, and that way have very good confidence that you're going to get the questions correct when you finally do take the test at the end of the course. So please consider doing that. When we get to page 22, we get to the support test, and that goes on to page 27. And again, it's just one case study after another, all highlighting the complicated portions of these tests. And so beginning on page 28, we have multiple support agreements. Now, what are multiple support agreements? Multiple support agreements are often used in situations where a taxpayer is caring for an elderly or disabled relative. So in this situation, if you look at page 28, you've got Henry and Harold, and they provide a portion of the support for their mother, and this is, a multiple support agreement, and oftentimes you'll have children or other relatives, brothers and sisters, who provide support for other family members who perhaps are under care in someone else's home, or perhaps they're under care in a facility somewhere, and the support agreement allocates who will claim the dependency exemption each year. And so that is quite common. So that's on page 28. And then beginning on the next page, 29, we have the qualifying relative tests. So remember, if you can be a qualifying child, then you can't be a qualifying relative. So that's the first test. And the qualifying relative tests go on for many pages through page 37. And so you'll see those various case studies and then the self-testing. And there's no hide the ball here. It's all stuff that they give you the answers to. Then on page 38 and 39, you'll see the discussion of custodial and non-custodial parents. This is for divorced, separated, or living separately parents, and how who gets to be treated as the custodial parent, and what are the tiebreakers and that sort of thing. And the tiebreaker rules they come to us on page 40, and the tiebreaker rules are ones that you can see, and there's actually a intake and interview sheet to help you fill out properly the information needed to show who would qualify as getting the dependency exemption under these tiebreaker rules. So just take a look at that. And then on page 41, there is a certification workshop that goes through page 47, and you can see the various questions there, and then you're given the answers on to each of those. And then there's a certification warm-up drill and practice with 3 more questions on page 47, and you can see that as well. Page 48 reminds you to go to the Tax Slayer tutorial and to go into and to try the practice lab and do the appropriate tutorials for dependents. And that's it. So that's dependence in a nutshell. And hope you are enjoying the course. That's the second half of lesson number 6, and then I will be posting the subsequent lessons in the very near future. So keep up your work. Lesson 7 is unique filing situations, and I believe that one is going to be applicable primarily for people who were taking the advanced test, but then we'll get into income. So we've just been doing filing status, personal exemptions, and dependent claims for dependents. And so that's just kind of getting started with the tax return, deciding what filing status of the 5 that you've got to choose from, and how many dependents you have, and if you get additional personal exemptions for age or perhaps blindness or something of that nature. And so those are all sort of the getting started stuff. And then we're about to get into, I think, 8 lessons that will go through the different types of income. And this is tested very heavily on the certification exam. So each of the certification exams has at least 6 questions about income. If you're taking the military exam, I'll have a lesson about military income. That'll be lesson 16. And then we get into adjustments to income. Those are either increases or decreases to income, usually decreases, based on certain types of expenditures or qualifications that a taxpayer will have. And then there's a lesson on military adjustments to income. Then we're going to get into the standard deduction and tax calculations, and also itemized deductions. So we'll have taxpayers decide if they're just going to use the standard deduction, which is what most VITA volunteer clients are going to take, or if they're going to itemize. And that's a rare situation, but we're going to learn those rules also. And that is also tested very heavily. Maybe not as heavily as income, but it is tested on all of the certification exams. Then we're going to get into credits and payments, and the credits are very important. For many of the clients at the VITA centers, TCE centers, we're going to find that tax credits actually provide a form of income assistance to our clients. And so the earned income credit, the child tax credit, and some of the other credits are really designed to give funds to low-income taxpayers to kind of level the playing field. And so that's part of our tax system. Then we'll also look at issues with respect to the premium tax credit under Obamacare, which is a subsidy. Some taxpayers get it up front. Some taxpayers claim it at the end, and at the end of the year. But that also can go into the refund that our clients will receive. And then we'll complete the return, and we'll look at military filing if you're in the military track. And then we'll have amended and prior year returns, and that'll be it. So that'll be the course. So I hope you're enjoying it. Contact me by email if you're having any questions. Feel free to call me anytime. My mobile telephone number is 704-604-0799. That's on the syllabus, and you can call me at that number at any time. If I can't take your call because I'm teaching, or because I've got client things going on, or I'm out of town, or whatever, I'm going to a number of seminars over January as well myself, just to keep my learning up. But if you have the opportunity to call me, leave a message, and I will call you back as soon as I can. So have a great day, and we'll talk with you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.